in Memphis has noticed that third circulation just to the southwest of the active tornado warning, so I would not be surprised to see another tornado warning get issued for that area. So that's just something we're keeping an eye on right now. Again, that tornado warning includes Tippah County as well as Alcorn County. Again, these are going to soon push off to the north into West Tennessee. If we actually toggle on the shear, so a product that shows how much the wind is changing with height, you can see those three distinct areas just to the south of Blue Mountain, as well as into close to Ripley and Mitchell and Silver Spring up towards Kossuth. So that's something we're keeping an eye on here across much of North Mississippi. I'm going to go back to velocity and show you these three areas of rotation. I'm going to circle them. So here near Bluff, one near Silver Spring, as well as one now just to the west of Corinth and to the north of Kossuth. So again, two of them technically in that tornado warning. I would not be surprised to see that third one down further to the south be added as well. So again, that's just something we're keeping an eye on, those two counties, Tippah and Alcorn County as well. These will continue to move off to the northeast into past North Mississippi and into south central Tennessee. So we're going to stay with you for now as far as radar. Here's what they look like on as far as reflectivity from the Columbus radar here in North Mississippi. So again, technically a tornado watch goes into effect for Tippah and Alcorn counties off to our north. So that's as far as the tornado watch. But we do have that one tornado warning that's just off to the east of Ripley. But again, the cells just to the south of Blue Mountain and then off towards Silver Spring. That one looks to be dissipating a little bit, as well as the cell to the north of Kossuth. So I think really the one that's showing signs of development is that cell just to the southeast of Blue Mountain, just to the north of Bluff, heading towards Dumas and Mitchell. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on as we go forward through the next several minutes. So here, if we go to storm relative velocity, you can see those three cells again. If I can get our pencil up here, so just north of Bluff, just north of Mitchell, and then towards Silver Spring and Collins Crossing. Those are the three areas of rotation. So just over North Union County, that cell right near Bluff, National Weather Service in Memphis is seeing that rotation as well, so I would not be surprised to see another tornado warning be issued for that cell, but shortly it will actually be moving into the tornado warning that is currently active. So again, here, let's kind of put this into motion. You can see the velocity with these three cells. Let me clear these drawings out there. So notice just in the last, let me go 15 minutes, you can see from Myrtle moving off to the north and east to now where we see it by Bluff and now up by Mitchell and Collins Crossing. So again, these are going to see, we're going to continue to see these pushing off to the north and east. We'll be joining you live shortly on WCBI News.
Okay, Amanda, I think I'm getting word that we are on WCBI TV. If we go over to our Links 1 source, please. If we can go to our Links 1 source, I just want to take control here real quick and just show you what we have going on here across our coverage area. So we have some severe weather coming on through. If we can bring up Links 1 full screen, please. We have a tornado warning now for these areas just to the northwest of our coverage area. And all right. I think we got everything back to where we need it to be. Amanda, take control over on Links 2, please.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump over to Links 2. If you're just now joining us on WCBI, we do have a tornado warning in effect for Alcorn and Tippah counties. There are three areas of rotation that we're seeing here across North Mississippi. Technically a tornado watch for all of the borders that are bordering the Tennessee border. So again, near Mitchell, up north of Collins Crossing, as well as I think the one off north of Kossuth, now looking like it's falling apart. So That would be fortunate, but again, we do have the rotation just between Bluff and Dumas that's now in just north of Clariesville. That is showing signs of rotation just now moving into that tornado warning box. Now as we, let's see, let me clear this off real quick. And jump up to the one by Collins Crossing and Crow-Ross Crossing up in extreme northern Mississippi. Again, all of these cells moving off to the north and east, so they will soon be out of Mississippi and into south central Tennessee. But again, we are keeping an eye on that. Here's what it looks like on radar. Not really too much to see. It kind of just looks like some strong thunderstorms, but really you see that when you look at velocity, you can see that rotation just to the east of Clariesville now, heading towards Mitchell. Again, the one near Silver Spring starting to develop again as well by Crow. So again, we don't have any confirmation of these actually being tornadoes, but they are showing signs of rotation, so that's why we're on the air here. There is in fact a tornado warning, several areas of rotation, but again, no confirmation of any official tornado. So let's see, check in here with the National Weather Service in Memphis. There is a circulation about 5 miles west of Corinth and about 5 miles southwest of Kossuth. So that is this circulation right here is the one southwest of Kossuth, and then the other one to the southwest of Corinth, or 5 miles west of Corinth. So that's up here. So again, we are seeing several areas of rotation in extreme north Mississippi. So let me zoom out and show you where we're actually seeing this. So notice here on the radar, extreme north Mississippi here in Alcorn and Tippah counties. So again, that tornado warning goes until 10:15 Central Time. So by that point in time, these cells should be out of north Mississippi and continuing off to the north and east. Let me toggle on. We don't actually, our data not plotting any skits or areas of storm tracking, but again, we are seeing that rotation across north Mississippi, so that's something to keep an eye on. You can see here just north of Dumas, as well as west of Corinth and southwest of Kossuth. I think this is the one right now showing the best sign of rotation, but again, these cells all showing different areas of rotation. One scan, one will seem fairly tight, the other, it switches over to another cell. So again, we're keeping an eye on all of these cells.
And Amanda, let me chime in real quick. Yes, stay with the shear rate here, and that shows that that bright little dot there, just west of Kossuth. That's where the best rotation, as you were just mentioning. So our shear rate product here does a pretty good job as far as taking out a lot of the noise, and we can see where some fast-moving wind is. And that's a pretty good indication where we have a couple of different little couplets, and if nothing else, there could be some very strong wind mixed in with some of this activity. So that's what we have going on.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's several areas of rotation, and that's why we're kind of seeing this broad area of that wind shear. So again, the brighter areas just to the west of Kossuth, so that's any of these showers could really be rotating, and that's why we're kind of keeping an eye on this with this tornado warning. So again, all of these moving off to the north and east, and they will soon be out of north Mississippi. But they are something worth keeping an eye on. We're awaiting more information from the National Weather Service in Memphis. But they did go as far as issuing that tornado warning, so that's definitely something we want to keep an eye on as we go forward through the rest of this evening and in the next hour. Again, this tornado warning officially goes until 10:15, so another 25 minutes or so. Several areas of rotation, as we've mentioned, contained within this tornado warning.
Yeah, and right now, this is just Doppler radar indicated as we come back over here to Lynx 1 if we could. This is Doppler radar indicated a couple of areas of rotation here in northeast Mississippi. Right now, the National Weather Service in Memphis tracking this, and these storm cells are going from southwest to northeast. So this is affecting Tippah County and Alcorn County just to the north and west of our official television market here, but we know we have some viewers here in southern parts of Tippah and parts of Alcorn County, and that's why we are on the air. We're also simulcasting this on WCBI.com and also our Facebook Live on our WCBI Weather Facebook account right now. So this is a big jumbled mass of rain here across the region, and there's actually a lot of flash flooding situations that are ongoing back to the west because we've had a lot of rainfall here with this line of storms. But the areas of rotation that continue to be indicated on radar are up here in Tippah and Alcorn counties. We'll come on in and zoom in real quick and look at the velocity here. And as Amanda was just mentioning, we have several areas. One right here near Dumas, and the other one near Kossuth right here. And you know, there could be some other ones in here too. Probably, let's go back to our shear rate. That just updated, I do believe. But we don't really have a clear indication of a ground truth confirmation here as far as like a good classic couplet that's producing a tornado. So this is all Doppler radar indicated. And when we don't see any, let's just say red or yellow in the shear rate, we're not looking at a big confirmed tornado situation at this point. Now, that can be changing here shortly, but we are continuing to monitor the situation. So for eastern Tippah County, we have a tornado warning until 10:15. Same story for western and northwestern Alcorn County, again until 10:15. Our newscast will begin sometime after 10 on WCBI, so we may have to adjust our newscast here. We're going to try and stay with this, even though this is on the fringe of our coverage area. But this is the first tornado warning we've had in our area today, and there's been a lot of severe weather up across West Tennessee as we've gone throughout the course of the event. And actually, most of those warnings now have shifted to the north of Nashville now, with this additional line of storms back up here from Louisville down to Nashville. That's where the strongest batch of storms is in the United States right now. But this line of storms, now getting into northern parts of Mississippi, really from Lafayette County northward, showing signs of a little bit more intensification here this evening. And we may see a couple of more of these random tornado warnings pop on up as we go throughout the course of the evening. A lot of the good wind energy is beginning to lift away from our region, but we still have some unstable air here. And in actuality, we have a little sliver of a tornado watch that has still been in effect for Tippah and Alcorn County. This will expire at 10 unless it gets extended for another hour. But that gives a little bit of credence to the fact that some of these storms could still be rotating here. Amanda, any more info?
As we mentioned, the biggest threat for tonight, the strong wind and the flooding concern, if we can actually pop back over to links 2, but the severe threat index, really the biggest issue going to be those gusty winds as well as the flooding concerns. But notice the tornado line, not 0. We mentioned the possibility of a brief spin-up tornado, and that's what we're seeing with this tornado warning, making sure we kind of have everything covered. So we'll jump back to radar right now, and we mentioned there really isn't any ground truth for this. Notice the correlation coefficient pretty much 100%, so not seeing any sort of debris on here. We do have a few couplets that would indicate some sort of rotation just to the northeast of Dumas, as well as to the northeast of Mitchell. Seems like the one up near Kossuth has diminished a little bit, but they've kind of been going back and forth between scans as far as which one is kind of stronger. So again, as we mentioned, the shear rate shows pretty much where we're seeing the spin in the atmosphere. Notice there is that line from Corinth through Kossuth, Collins Crossing, Silver Spring, back towards Mitchell and Dumas, and even back just outside of the warning between Blue Mountain and Bluff. So there's our newest data, and let's see, that beep you might have heard indicates that something has said the word tornado. They are continuing that tornado warning until 10:15, so they're not going to cancel that tornado warning. Let's see, it looks like they might...
The tornadoes, the Doppler radar indicated part of that storm that is producing some rotation was located near Glen, which is near Corinth, moving northeast at 40. So that's going to take it out of our state here very, very soon.
Yes, so that will basically pull it out of North Mississippi and into extreme northwestern Alabama, as well as parts of south central Tennessee. So again, here looking at that cell, these cells that have kind of been showing these spin up, notice the line, basically the red from Ripley all the way up towards Gift. That's where we're seeing the general broad rotation in any given area within that could be what we're seeing as far as the weak little spin. There are several cells, several areas of rotation at least, that we're seeing on velocity here. So again, it's looking somewhat like the rotation is dissipating, but I think National Weather Service in Memphis continuing this to make sure that everything is covered and that we don't actually have a tornado that is impacting North Mississippi here.
Yeah, at this point, the circulations that we're looking with our velocity product here, as we swap back over to Lynx 1, just does not look like we have a lot of clear indication of a big circulation going on. The best couplet here, as we switch over to our other site there, is just west of Jumpertown, right there. That little couplet right there is probably a little bit more discernible versus the other ones. But you know, if we're going to get a tornado in this type of situation, it would likely be brief. And on the weaker end of the spectrum, we would not expect a big situation to develop with these kind of circulations. But they're out there. And we may have a couple of more of these as we go throughout the course of the evening here. So there was one, there was another one, there's another one right there. So this is just over the last 30 minutes. We've had a couple of these weak circulations move across Tippah County and Alcorn County, and the one near Corinth is quickly shifting into Tennessee, but we still have that other one there just west of Jumpertown here. And I'm going to pop on our shear rate product here. And again, you can see the general movement from southwest to northeast. Some of this will perk on up and then dissipate a little bit. Sometimes it's clear as mud, as we say, but there's these little kinks in the line here that could produce a little bit of brief spin-up activity here as we go throughout the near term. So that is complex number one. There's some other cells back down to the southwest not warned for any severe weather, just west of New Albany here. We'll go in and inspect the velocity, and there's, you know, you may be able to argue that there's a couple other areas of those little pockets of subtle rotation down there currently not warned. But that too is something that we'll have to just watch and see. The cold front is coming on in, and then there's a little bit of rotation ongoing with some of those cells on the leading edge. So it's not very clear in some of this stuff, but we still have a couple of warnings here. And again, Alex, chime in. What do you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, and I don't know if we can pull up Viper over here. I don't know if you can pull it back up in the back or if you can pull it up through one of those link systems. Yeah, go ahead and take Viper full, if you will, because I wanted to show you this southern rotation is really sort of straddling the line of the tornado warning there, and it's going to clip northwestern Prentiss. So if you're watching us in Jumpertown and points to the north and west, you're not formally under a warning here, but that's a pretty strong couplet moving through the very northwestern corner of the county right now. So if you're watching us in northwestern Prentiss, if it was me, I would be going through my tornado safety plan. That southern rotation, I've got the storm track on it. Jumpertown here, probably within the next couple of minutes. It looks like it may stay just to the northwest of Jumpertown. But if you're watching us in Jumpertown, points in the north and west, extreme northwestern Prentiss, it's going to clip northwestern Prentiss County for about 5 minutes and move into southern Alcorn.
And that circulation is right along Eaton Road, northwest of Jumpertown, heading towards the Pisgah community there, northwestern parts of Prentiss. So that's where it's at. That's probably the best part of rotation we got right now.
Just as a note from the National Weather Service, southwest of Mitchie and McNair near Kossuth, the circulation's still there. They've extended the tornado watch for Prentiss and Tishomingo County until 11. So we did see at least parts of the tornado watch continue to be extended, as well as for Alcorn County. That will also go until 10 o'clock. Benton, Carroll, Crockett, Benton, Marshall, and Tippah County in Mississippi, those are all canceled out of the tornado watch.
Looks like we got a new tornado warning now. That's going to include portions of Prentiss, southern Alcorn, and portions of central and western Tishomingo.
And that goes until 10:45.
Yes.
10:45
so that includes the area we just talked about with Prentiss County. That includes Jumpertown. So again, those areas that we were just mentioning, that new tornado warning does in fact include those areas generally across just the northern tier of Prentiss County, north of Boonville. So again, south of Boonville, you're in the clear at least for now as far as these cells that we're kind of looking at. If we can actually pull up Lynx 2, So looking at this new tornado warning, it includes Jumpertown, of Bynum, and it's going to be heading off to the north and east. I think Alex also has that storm track pulled up over on Viper. So you can see that new tornado warning goes until 10:45 tonight. Again, we'll stay on the air as these tornado warnings continue. Those areas of rotation still continuing, at least in some capacity. I think the best signal of rotation is, in fact, that storm just off to the north of Jumpertown.
Yeah, that looks to be the big driver at this point in time here as we go back over to our Lynx 1 system here. So the rotation just to the northeast of the Jumpertown community. At this point, we are looking at the potential for this storm to be moving off to the east-northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Let's come back over to Lynx 1 if we can, and just bring that up full if you have to. But this is essentially over the Pisgah community now. It's going to be near Rienzi by 1012, and then near Burnsville, assuming it holds on this track, by 1028 or so. So that's going to be in the next 20, 25 minutes. So that's the situation. There's the storm track. The rotation is right there just to the north of Jumpertown. But there are those communities here. So we track this out at about 45 miles per hour. This is a pretty good little storm that's just kind of spun on up. So this is a new tornado warning now. If you're just tuning on in, this is WCBI Severe Weather Coverage. I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. It's 10:02. We've got meteorologist Alex Puckett, meteorologist Amanda Reynolds here in-house too. We're all controlling our own radars. We're swapping back and forth. If you were expecting to see WCBI News at 10, well, we will have continuing weather coverage here for the duration of this tornado warning now. This is Doppler radar indicated. It is moving to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So those of you in Rienzi, the Pisgah community now, you're under the gun, but Rienzi, southern parts and southeastern parts of Alcorn County and northern parts of Prentiss County, this is something that you will want to watch out for as we go throughout the next couple of minutes here. And eventually perhaps southern parts of, or the western part of Tishomingo County here over the next 45 minutes. So that's the status we have right now. Let's go back to our shear rate project. What do you got, Amanda?
National Weather Service in Memphis is also watching the southernmost circulation in southeast Tippah County. So I do believe that is to the east of Dumas.
Okay, yep, right there.
They are also watching that cell. It is not currently tornado warned, but they are saying that is moving eastward. So that would, if they were to issue some sort of warning for that, that would include more of Prentiss County further to the south than we are currently seeing.
So just the heads to bed, if you're watching in Boonville or the Blackland community, you're not under any warning, but there's another circulation back out to the west that is moving to the east-northeast. So all these areas in northern parts of Prentiss County, just be on guard because there are definitely some other pockets of some rotation. You can even extrapolate this back down to the southwest, even down towards New Albany too, where we have no warnings for Union County. But these little cells are nasty little cells that are producing some sort of spin, and we may be getting some spin-ups here as we go throughout the course of the evening hours here. So this is just the last 30 minutes from southwest to the northeast. That's how they're moving. And we're producing some very good rainfall rates too on these cells as they come on through. Alex, do you have any new info?
No, and it sounds like that we may have an update from the Weather Service.
New tornado warning including Lee, Prentiss, and Union County until 10:45. So I do believe that is that southernmost cell that they were watching.
All right, so that would actually, that's probably going to include the southern one near.
Looks like a circulation
Baldwin
probably just north of I-22 near New Albany.
Baldwin.
The New Albany storm. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, so New Albany towards Baldwin and Boonville. So the extreme northern part of Lee County, so north of Guntown, now in this tornado warning. But if we can actually head over to Lynx 2, you can see the shear rate product, pretty much the line going all the way from notice down here between Water Valley and Bruce, there is some weak rotation that pretty much stretches all the way up to the Tennessee line. So that's something to keep an eye on. Any one of these storms could show that rotation. There is another tornado warning, Lee, Prentiss, Tippah, and Union counties. Let's see if I can get that one to plot on here.
Yeah, you've already got that. That was
that
the
one?
latest one that just came down.
Okay.
So you're good there.
Okay, so same tornado warning, not another one. But that basically is just off to the east of New Albany, moving towards Boonville. So again, notice the shear rate product going pretty much from New Albany all the way up to the state line. So that's where we're seeing that rotation. And anywhere we see that rotation, we could see one of these cells produce a brief spin-up tornado, and National Weather Service going ahead and issuing those tornado warnings to make sure that everyone is properly warned in case one of these cells does in fact produce a funnel cloud or a tornado.
And one other thing to mention too is that it is 10 o'clock at night. We have absolutely minimal amounts of lightning in this activity. So if we have any tornadoes that do develop, they're going to be very hard to see, and we won't have any frequent flashes of lightning to really backlight the sky to see whatever is actually trying to develop. So these things could be very mysterious until they would actually touch down. And again, we have no confirmation of touchdowns here in northern Mississippi this evening. These are all Doppler radar indicated warnings. We have 3 warnings in play. The one that we were just been talking about until 10:45, this is for eastern Union, northern parts of Lee County right there. Probably the worst of the weather will stay north of Guntown. And western parts of Prentiss County, that goes until 10:45. We have this other circulation that is moving in northern parts of Prentiss, southeastern Alcorn, western parts of Tishomingo County. That goes until 10:45 as well. And then we've been following this other warning that is set to expire for northern parts of Alcorn County. That storm cell is beginning to lift out of Mississippi and get up into Tennessee. So we've got a busy type situation right now. Some of this data is clear as mud, so we'll just concentrate on some of our shear rate here, because this really does a pretty good job of indicating where we have some of the fastest moving wind. And right now it looks like the worst of any weather is now east of New Albany and now east of Corinth, but we have pockets of some what could be some circulation, some tornado potential here that is now southeast of Ripley here. So any area that's in green is likely spots that we have some fast-moving wind. We don't know if it's exactly producing a tornado at this point, but there is a potential with these little subtle couplets. We have green and red, green and red, green and red up in here, and we look for those things on our wind velocity products to tell us where we have the best chance of seeing a tornado. So these may not be doing anything. This is all Doppler radar indicated at this point. We're trying to comb folks and try and get some reports here. But right now we have no ground truth of anything producing a tornado on the ground at this point.
No, right now all the National Weather Service in Memphis is seeing is the same rotation we're seeing here on our radar. So really not seeing anything that would indicate a tornado touching the ground, or even really any reports of funnel clouds. But again, we are seeing those areas of circulation, and that's why these tornado warnings are being issued, because it's better to stay safe. So make sure you can, if you are seeing these tornado warnings and you do maybe want to go to bed, you can make sure that you have your weather radio turned on and nearby you, as well as maybe having your phone with maybe our app or some other sort of notification that would send you these tornado warnings, as well as any severe thunderstorm warning that could be issued. And that's probably your best way of staying safe with these. You can also tune in. Right now we're on WCBI.com, or we're on WCBI News, as well as WCBI.com/live on our social media pages on Facebook, as well as doing some updates on Twitter as well. So again, here's the shear rate product. So these areas of green with these tornado warnings, so to the east of New Albany, as well as just to the west of Boonville, all of these are continuing to move off to the north and east. So again, notice as we scrub back in time, you can actually see as these cells move off to the north and east, we're seeing more of these tornado warnings be issued. So these are just precautionary at this time. We don't have any reports, confirmation from the National Weather Service in Memphis. No actual reports so far, just radar indication. So they're seeing the same things we are here, just those slight signs of rotation, and making sure that everyone is covered and is properly warned as well as prepared.
And as we go back to links number 1 over here, I've just highlighted an area west of the Graham community in eastern parts of Union County where we may have some slightly better depiction on radar here of a couplet. As we extrapolate this back just a couple of frames, you can see how it was there near New Albany and is now here near the Graham community. I'm going to do a storm track here and lift this out at about 45 miles per hour, and we'll just plot a couple of new cities here. So that would take it into these communities here. The Lebanon community by 10:18, which is essentially 7 minutes from now. Maybe Boonville by 10:32. Again, this is just Doppler radar indicated rotation, and then Rienzi again by 10:40. So a couple of communities here. It looks kind of busy, but that little area of rotation on the velocity and that little piece of color there with the reflectivity here, that circle that I've highlighted, that is where we have one of the better signatures of rotation ongoing right now. Alex?
I think it's sitting right on an outflow boundary. So I think that may be why we're getting some of that noisiness in the velocity product. It's kind of hard to see, but there are some somewhat slight reflectivity values just ahead of it. And so because of that, we may be getting some sort of noisy look there.
It is very noisy.
It's certainly a noisy look. But actually, if you come over to Viper, I think it's a little bit easier to see. The circulation's over near Pleasant Ridge, and it's really moving right through the city. Now it's a little bit noisier on here as well. But there is, I guess it's just a color table thing here, right there. That's what we're talking about as far as that southern circulation. And something that we may notice as we go through the rest of the evening here is typically when we get into these line events, when we get these line of thunderstorms, the southern circulation takes over as far as becoming the more dominant circulation. So we'll have to watch as we go through the evening. That tends to be the case. We saw it a few minutes ago with the northwestern Prentice, that Jumpertown circulation taking over. Now this one may be looking a little bit better.
Yeah, these are riding the outflow boundary coming out of this big rain shield back to the west. So it's right on the leading edge here. So we're getting this outflow boundary to perk up a couple of new cells, and those new cells are trying to rotate a little bit, not in grand fashion, but they're doing so here in northeast Mississippi. So these circulations we have ongoing are subtle, they're small, they may not last too terribly long. We have three soon to be 2 tornado warnings across our region right now. The northernmost one will expire here in 2 minutes, so we don't have to worry about that. It's the New Albany or the Union County storm, and the one that is also moving through extreme northern Prentice County and soon to be, if not already, southern Elkhorn County. But it is so hard to discern now with our velocity product. So I'm just going to go back down to our shear rate here.
Yes, between the outflow boundary and being far away from the radar, that also makes it fairly hard to see.
That is true.
But we do also have not only the tornado threat, but also the threat for damaging winds. The National Weather Service in Memphis has said that there was a viewer report of a downed tree and a damaged trailer in New Albany. So likely part of this cell that was just to the north or just to the west of New Albany. So again, we're seeing the damage, some damage reports coming in, not just from these rotating cells, but also in the form of just damaging winds. And at this point, it really won't take too much to produce some damage. It would not take severe criteria winds to see maybe a downed tree. The ground is so saturated at this point. They are continuing the tornado warning. Lee, Prentice, and Tippah County. So again, that's that southernmost tornado warning that includes, that includes Alpine Parks, Halltown, Graham. So again, that southern tornado warning, the extreme northern part of Lee, Prentice, Tippah, and Union counties as well.
Yeah, so this batch of fast-moving wind, again, that warning goes until 10:45. We will be with you until these warnings expire. So there's our updated shear rate product again, and some brighter greens here east and now south of New Albany. Each one of those areas, again, we can't discount any of this at this point.
Yeah, we continue to see these warnings shift farther and farther south. So these
true.
areas of rotation, something to keep an eye on. We can't rule out that we might see a tornado warning get issued further to the south, as we are starting to see that shear rate pick up further and further south.
Yeah, it goes all the way down here into northern parts of Calhoun County right now. So all these areas down here farther south are still fair game. As a matter of fact, their entire viewing area is still fair game for a severe storm that could produce some damaging wind gusts or maybe a brief tornado tonight. And, you know, just looking at this, if you were to just look at this, This does not look very impressive at all. It's not a big supercell storm. This is not a classic setup. We have no lightning being detected in this. There's probably a few flashes from time to time, but this is not your big supercell tornado outbreak event. This is a line of thunderstorms or showers with a little bit of lightning that is interacting with an outflow boundary, and we have some wind energy aloft kicking on through too, and a cold front coming on in. So just enough spin going on to produce some subtle rotation in some of these storm cells. And we show you radar like this all the time, and it looks exactly like this and produces nothing but rain, and we have no warnings. But tonight we have that. We have no lightning, but we have some subtle rotation within these showers that have been producing some rotation. And speaking of that, let's go back in and inspect why we are on the air right now. We have 2 tornado warnings, eastern and northeastern Union County right there, central Prentiss County, and also this box up here, including Rienzi. That is a tornado warning for those areas until 10:45. So as far as the shear rate, probably the best amount of wind is down here in eastern and southeastern Union County right now, but there are pockets of things that we are just watching. Oh, it is so hard. It is so hard to detect what is going on with some of the stuff tonight. We are scanning, let's see, we're using the Columbus radar site. We are scanning at 3,600 plus feet here, and so we're not exactly on the ground here. But there's,
And on
we're
our
still
shear-
looking at that circulation right there west of Osborne Creek, right there, northwest of Frankstown. That right there could be one of these little things here. This is right along Gueville Road, right here. And that is, let's do a little distance measurement here. West of Frankstown, probably by about 6 miles here. So west of 45, about 6 miles.
I will say our shear rate product is picking up on an area
there's
south of the tornado warning. Back towards Fairfield.
Yes. There it is. Okay. So
See, we're seeing these cells start to shift further and further south where that rotation is. Would not be surprised to see that another tornado warning get issued further to the south.
yeah, and that's probably the best looking shear rate imagery we have had so far
Yes.
this evening as far as getting some red to pop. So northwest of the Fairfield community, and that is basically right along Highway 348 and County Road 180 in the southeastern part of Union County right there. That is where we probably have some pretty fast-moving wind near the Ellistown community. Let's zoom on in. There's our reflectivity. So right on the leading edge of that thing right there.
And that is moving off to the northeast, so that will soon pull into that tornado warning. So to the east of Parks towards Alpine, and then Jericho, Lebanon,
Right up in here.
that's where that cell is pulling off to the northeast.
Yeah, and let's do a storm track on that particular part of the storm. Let's just assume this is also moving northeast at 45, and that will put it into the Bethany community by 1027, Gueville by 1033, again Boonville by 1045. It seems like some of these towns we keep communicating to you about the same place over and over and over, and the Bynum community maybe as late as 1049, but these things are developing and falling apart pretty fast. So these numbers are not guaranteed by any means, but let's just say the closer you are to that circulation right there, Alpine, Bethany, the Lebanon communities here, you need to be aware that there's some circulation right there that we are even seeing ramp up even more. This is just west of the Brannion community there, right along Highway 348. In extreme eastern Union County. So this is due west of Guntown. So just be aware, that is probably our best looking signature we've had tonight in our region. This is, for reference, there's New Albany, and along 348 near the Ellistown community right here, that couplet, or that little dot, we just got the updated scan. It weakened a little bit. So you saw how fast it pulsed up, and within a minute or two, it pulsed back down a little bit. But they're still looking like, it still looks like there's some subtle thing there. And we could just assume that stuff like that could happen along this line just about anywhere at this point here. So we've got a broad range of storm cells out there that could do the same thing in other communities too, that we have no warning for, especially farther south. So again, we'll just see how this all goes. Alex?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if we can go back over to Viper real quick, just wanted to point out, we're talking about all these tornado warnings, and I didn't want to leave the folks right up towards the state line in Tishomingo County out. No tornado warning for this. This is more of a straight line wind signature, but probably some gusty winds over near Pine Flat. Notice this bowing look to the line here, and then right behind it, you get those greens instead of yellows and reds. So we've got what looks sort of like a bowing line segment right along the Tennessee state line, over towards State Highway 25 in far northern Tishomingo County. So if you're watching this up there, no tornado warning, doesn't look like a tornadic signature, but it does look like you're going to get some high winds in that neck of the woods. No formal warning for that, but I would anticipate things to get a little bit rough right along the state line in Tishomingo County here within the next couple of minutes if it's not ongoing already right now.
Yeah, and that storm cell is pulling away from our area, but it's probably pretty rough up there right now. So again, if you are watching us right now on television or our simulcast on WCBI.com or our Facebook Live we have on our WCBI Weather Facebook account, and you're watching in Columbus, West Point, Starkville, Macon, Louisville, Aberdeen, you're wondering, why are you talking about all this stuff? Because it is dry where I live. Well, that is true. It is currently all clear down in the southern part of our coverage area, but along and west of the Natchez Trace Parkway, we have a big batch of rain coming on in, and on the leading edge, there's a little bit of an outflow boundary, and there's still some wind energy that can spin some of these cells. It's not going to be a big deal, but we have a big, broad viewing area, and we are covering everybody here this evening. So eventually, it's going to rain where you live. If you have no rain right now, if you're watching in Columbus, you will get rain. It's going to rain after midnight. We have a big batch of rain back to the west. You can see how extensive this batch of rain is. And I'm just going to loop the last 2 hours here, and you can see the general movement from southwest to northeast for the individual cells, and the whole line is moving from west to east. So it is going to take some time to get down into the southern part of our coverage area, but eventually we will be getting rain in Columbus, Starkville, West Point, Aberdeen, you name it, even the West Alabama too, probably after midnight. Now there could be a few showers earlier in the evening, but that big mass of rain is coming our way. And generally speaking, every one of these counties back to the northwest of the Golden Triangle area has a flash flood warning. We've had so much rain over the last couple of days, and more rain's falling. What do you got?
I was going to say, if you actually switch over to links 2, here's the look at the 24-hour rain estimate. So we've had plenty of rain over parts of northwest Mississippi over the last several days. So here, the bright reds, those are the tornado warnings, but these kind of darker reds from central Tennessee all the way back, including Oxford, just north of Grenada towards Greenville, those are all flash flood warnings. So they've been seeing very heavy downpours over the last several hours on top of the rain that they've already seen earlier this week. So again, that heavy rain pushing off to the southeast, and while we haven't had quite as much rain in the Golden Triangle area over the last few days, the flash flood threat is something to keep in mind as well, in addition to the relatively low-end tornado threat and the threat for some gusty winds as well.
Okay, let's go back to Links 1 with our live camera in downtown Tupelo. And we've had some wet weather earlier in the evening. Right now we have no wet weather going on and no tornado warning for you in Tupelo at this point. We are looking back to the west-southwest, and we don't notice any lightning on the horizon. If you look closely, we have some flags there at Fair Park in the middle of the screen, and the breeze out of the south has been steadily increasing throughout the day. Down here at the surface, and you go up a couple hundred or a couple thousand feet, it's even stronger than that. It's really zipping on through here. So even these subtle little showers can tap into some of this wind energy and produce some wind damage down here on the ground. So we may not even need severe wind criteria like a severe thunderstorm to produce some wind damage here, but that's just a live look in Tupelo right now.
And in fact, they actually just extended that flash flood warning to include Tupelo.
Okay, they did.
Yeah, so that now includes Alcorn, Calhoun, Lee, Pontotoc, Prentiss, and Tishomingo, and Union counties. So again, those flash flood warnings go through tomorrow morning, or early tomorrow morning. So just something to keep an eye on with that heavy rain. new flash flood warnings
Okay.
just now being issued. So as these storms continue to push off to the southeast, we'll probably continue to see those flash flood warnings be issued.
Indeed. So not only do we have to worry about the flooding again, but we also have to worry about some of this fast-moving wind. And as we zoom on in, we have a big, broad polygon issued for a tornado warning that does include Baldwin, Frankstown here, Boonville, Prentice County, northeastern parts of Union County, extreme northern Lee County. Some of the best fast-moving wind, I guess if you could say, in our region right now is near the Bethany community there along and just north of Highway 370. This is with another little storm cell moving on through. So there's the radar. That's where it's raining. And we can come in and see the movement of the wind. Now, some of this could actually be some outflow wind coming out of some of these storm cells or the outflow boundary coming out of that big rain shield since it's kind of lined up in a linear fashion, but whenever we get these little localized dots of brighter green and red, that's where we may see some enhanced, let's just say, red flag potential for a tornado spin-up or so. Again, we've had no confirmed tornadoes at this point in our coverage area this evening. We've had, again, a little bit of damage reported so far in Union County and New Albany. If you have any weather reports, try to pass them along to us safely. Weather@WCBI.com is our email address, also on our Facebook and Twitter, our handle there at WCBI Weather, and we'll try to comb through the reports as we get them. But right now, there's the updated Shear 8 product, and you can see we've lost some of the brighter greens and the reds. So these little cells are popping on up and then popping back down. So I would say at this point, some of the better wind energy is in northern parts of Tishomingo County, eastern and southeastern parts of Alcorn County, near the Glens community, north of Burnsville, and near Rienzi here, southeast of Biggersville. And then also down to the southwest between Frankstown and the Bethany community there, west of Guntown, east of New Albany there, right along 348. And then we have another little line of gusty wind, at least perhaps west of Pontotoc, right there near the Springville community and Randolph community too. And that is right along that leading edge of the showers. So we have really a lot of stuff to just babysit as we go throughout the course of the evening and the overnight hours here. So let me just animate the last 30 minutes. And all this blue stuff here, this is just some ground clutter. Just disregard that. If you look closely, right at the last couple of frames here, there's actually a subtle little outflow. Alex was talking about that. You picked up on that with Viper. And that little outflow boundary is kicking off some of these new cells, and it looks like those are the ones that are showing some signs of some subtle rotation here this evening. All right, so it is now 10:30 in the evening, just to reset the situation. I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. We've got Alex Puckett and Amanda Reynolds here in the studio as well. We have been preempting WCBI News at 10. If you're expecting to see WCBI News at 10, well, we've got tornado warnings in play, and we will be with you here until 10:45 when some of these are set to expire. We may be on even longer if we get some new warnings to come on down from the Weather Service in Memphis. So that's the current situation right now. Amanda, you got any new information? Well, it looks like we may have some new information coming. We'll check out the status of that.
Just want to point out, by the way, we do have a circulation, however weak, that is moving through Boonville right now. So if you're watching us in Boonville, you need to be in your safe place. It's moving right through town. It's not the most impressive thing you'll ever see as far as circulations are concerned, but it is one of the maybe 2 or 3 circulations we've got going on right now that's prompting a warning. We've got another one southwest of that. As you were talking about, Keith, this is over near Frankstown, or just to the south and west of it. This is north of Baldwin. So right now, certainly don't want anyone traveling on Highway 45 between, say, Saltillo and Corinth. As we've got some of those circulations crossing over the highway. Also, don't want anybody really on Highway 2 right now between Corinth and Iuka. We do have sort of that broad circulation in Tishomingo County. That seems to be looking more like a straight line wind threat. In fact, note the Weather Service in Huntsville, once this crosses over the state line, has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for that. They're not going to go with a tornado warning on it. Looks like that might be the right call as it's starting to broaden out a little bit.
They're saying the circulation is fairly broad, and so they're going severe thunderstorm warning with the possibility of a tornado.
That makes sense. But if you're north of Baldwin right now, between Baldwin and Boonville on 45, that's a better looking circulation there as well. That's going to be moving over towards Frankstown here within the next minute or two. So if you're in Frankstown, you want to be in a safe place as well. We're not using sort of the traditional reflectivity radar. That's sort of the green, yellow, red stuff you typically see. This is what I'm talking about right here. It's not really as useful for us in a day like today.
It's a little bit messy.
It's messy, and we're not going to get those individual storms with the hook echoes like we do get sometimes, like those classic April tornado outbreaks we see. This isn't that. This is a line of showers and thunderstorms. It's hard to see the rotation on something like this in a day like today. We're going to use things like velocity and the shear
They've
rate.
continued that one tornado, the one that towards Baldwin. They've extended it northeast.
Yeah, this new warning goes until 1:15.
11:15.
Or 11:15. I'm getting my numbers confused. If it's 1:15, we are in serious trouble. But
Yeah.
11:15.
And it is showing up a little bit better on our shear rate product. We're starting, well, as soon as I say that, we get another scan and it's starting to dissipate. But that is something we're keeping an eye on now, just to the east of Bethany, just to the west of Baldwin, heading off to the northeast towards Frankstown, rather. Just putting that out there as well.
Yeah, those two circulations, the one moving through North Boonville and the one near Frankstown, are probably the two most impressive on the board right now.
And let's see, just want to point out, we are dealing with these few tornado warnings, but there is heavy rain stretching all the way back, basically from the extreme northeast Mississippi towards Boonville, Pontotoc, Bruce. We're seeing that heavy rain, so heavy rain going to be an issue, as well as some gusty winds through the remainder of the next few hours at least, as this continues to push off to the northeast. And let's see. Oh, that is in Louisiana. So let's see. We are going to continue to see. Let me clear out some of this ground clutter to really kind of hone in on what we're seeing as far as the severe potential. So let's see if I can get just enough of this ground clutter out. So if you notice just ahead, and it's easiest to see it from Pontotoc towards Guntown, that is in fact the outflow boundary that's kind of sparking some of these gusty showers to kind of rotate. So would not be surprised to see any of the cells that kind of from Boonville all the way down towards Ecru, just to the west of Pontotoc and Algoma. Any of those could really start to rotate. If we toggle on our shear rate, again, you can see those areas continuing to see. Anywhere we're seeing these greens, and especially the reds, those are areas that we're starting to see at least some sort of rotation. So just to the east of Ecru, to the west of Enville, we're starting to see another area of rotation over Oak Hill right now. So again, right on US 22, would not want to be traveling on the roads there close nearby to the northeast of Pontotoc, near Sherman. Just to the north of Tupelo. Tupelo, you're next in the gun to see these heavy downpours and the possibility of some of these rotating showers. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this over the next few hours as this continues to push off to the south and east. So if you're here in the Golden Triangle area and you're wondering why are we doing all of this coverage, it's not even raining where I am. The heaviest rain back off to the north and west, and it will continue to slide southeast as we go into the next several hours. So if I put a 1 hour loop on this, you can see they are moving to the northeast, but back towards the west. We are in fact seeing showers back towards Greenwood, Grenada. So again, these are going to continue to push to the north and east, and that's when we could start to see some of those rotating showers in other parts of the viewing area.
Just want to point out, this is just a little bit northeast of our viewing area, but we're close enough that wanted to mention, I'm not going to show it here because we're getting a little too sciencey with it, but the University of Alabama in Huntsville has launched a balloon in Lauderdale County, Alabama. That's right there on the state line. That's just east of Tishomingo County. They've got a severe thunderstorm warning in place right now, but some of the conditions there were pretty favorable for these little quick spin-up tornadoes. They had a decent amount of instability, some good low-level shear, so probably a good snapshot of the environment across northeast Mississippi as well as this line pushes through. So it looks like there's just this little area in northeast Mississippi, northwest Alabama that's going to be kind of conducive to some of these spin-ups as we go through the next couple of hours.
Well, we will be here following the situation for the duration of the weather here. Again, the warning that has just newly been issued goes until 1:15, or I keep wanting to say 1:15, 11:15 this evening. Some of the other ones will expire at 10:45. Again, it's 10:36. And we have a line of gusty showers with some embedded rotation here moving across our region. And we continue to follow the potential for some strong thunderstorms that may produce some wind damage, if nothing else, in addition to maybe a spin-up type tornado and some very heavy rainfall. So right now, let's go in and inspect a little bit of our shear rate again. And again, this is kind of devolved into a broken line of not a lot of bright color. And that means some disjointed wind. We don't have that classic signature as Alex was mentioning here. We've got several areas, and I'm going to just several areas of like subtle rotation moving on through. So this is our storm relative velocity here. So basically, we can see the wind movement within these thunderstorms. And if you look closely down the line, we've had several of these little red and green couplets moving on through the area. And it looks some of these have broadened out a little bit or weakened a little bit. Just a few minutes ago, we had a really good one there near the Frankstown community. But that, too, seems to have shifted just to the east of 45 and not become as noticeable, still there. But also one that was moving over Boonville, again, near the altitude community there in northeastern parts of Prentiss County, east of Highway 4. There still could be something there, too. So these tornado polygons are rather broad in size and scope at this point. And it looks like let's see here, we are getting a new one to plot, or that was the latest one to plot, correct?
I do believe so.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, that's the one that goes until 11:15. So all these are kind of blending together here. But it's hard to tell at any given time where these things could be. So let's just say this. If you are watching in Iuka, Tishomingo, the Marietta community here, east of Boonville, east of Rienzi here, if it's not raining in your area out in here right now, you are going to get some rain, and on the leading edge of that rain, when it comes in, you're probably going to have some gusty wind, and within that gusty wind, at some point somewhere in here, there is still the chance for one of these spin-up type tornadoes here in northeast Mississippi. Easy for me to see tonight, or say tonight, but that is what we're dealing with here. It's a big, muddled mess at this point.
And we've been talking about the easiest way right now for us to see that rotation is by looking at our shear rate products. If we can go full screen with links 2, you can notice that's those green blobs. So as we go forward in time, this is the last hour. Notice those blobs have been kind of shifting further and further to the south. So if I can actually get this to kind of pause for a second, if we go back to an hour ago, it pretty much was north of New Albany towards Ripley and Corinth. And as we go forward in time, notice those areas are stretching further and further to the southwest. So we're continuing to see more of that rotation shift further and further to the south. So pretty much no one out of the woods yet completely. Any one of these showers could be the one that rotates and could produce a wall cloud or a funnel cloud, but really not seeing anything right now that would be indicative of a tornado, in fact, touching the ground or creating damage. But there are several areas. You can see the latest coming in now. You can see an area stretching from Boonville back towards Pontotoc of at least weak rotation. So that's something to keep an eye on as we go forward in time. So we're continuing to see that shear rate or those areas of rotation shift further and further to the southwest.
Okay, now I want to go check out some of our sky cams here. Let's go to our Ole Miss track camera. I know it's kind of dark here in Oxford, but it's raining pretty hard here and steadily northwest of the leading edge of that line of showers. And you can see how wet it is right there right now. And let's go back to Tupelo, and we are awaiting the arrival of the rain right now. It's still dry here at Fair Park in downtown with our Alpha Insurance Camera Network. One bad thing about tonight is that we don't have a lot of lightning, and sometimes for these nighttime thunderstorm events, it's good to have a lot of backlighting from Mother Nature to provide that light so we can see exactly what's coming in from the west with these storms. We are not seeing any lightning whatsoever here with our Skycam network. There's been very little across the entire region today. So we don't have that to really help us to see if we have a shelf cloud, if we have a wall cloud, if we have a brief spin-up tornado tonight. So again, it is all dark. We have very little amounts of lightning across our region here. So just a quick little tour. And again, we are all dry farther to the southeast. But once that rain gets to your spot, it is going to pour initially and then just rain steadily for maybe a couple of hours here, because there's a big, huge rain shield that goes all the way back to the Mississippi River. So that's a pretty extensive shield of rain, and that's basically, let's just say it's about 110 miles wide is that rain shield, and that's going to take some time to clear your area once it does start to rain.
Yeah, if we actually switch back over to Lynx 2, I actually have the Memphis radar pulled up to kind of see more of that rain back to the northwest. So Oxford, Water Valley, definitely seeing that heavy rain. Toggling on the rainfall over the last 3 hours, notice back west of Holly Springs, Senatobia, Clarksdale, those are areas that have seen plenty of rain, and all of that rain going to continue to push off to the southeast. This picking up on at least a ½ inch of rain, and I would suspect in some local areas actually seeing a little bit more of that rain as these thunderstorms start to train over some of the same areas. Flash flooding a concern across much of North Mississippi. If I toggle on the flood alerts over here, you can actually see all of the dark red boxes, and the bright red boxes, those are the tornado warnings. But those dark red warnings, if I can get them to pop back up, there we go. Those are the areas that have seen plenty of rain over the last several days. So flash flooding, definitely a concern. And even with the flash flooding, the ground is saturated, and we could, even with sub-severe wind gusts of maybe 30, 40 miles an hour, we could still, in fact, see tree damage from from maybe trees being uprooted from the very saturated ground.
Yeah, and I want to go back to Lynx 1 real quick and show you some updated storm times with our wind velocity product here. We still have a couple of these couplets here. Again, east of Frankstown, east of 45 here in Prentiss County. That little area of rotation is moving to the east, northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So these areas here, including Blythe Chapel, again, 1047, basically on top of you right now. Eventually, the Burton community, 1056, and then maybe Tishomingo by 1104, assuming that area of rotation holds together. And we also have, let me clear that off real quick, we also have this area of concern up here near the Leedy community, southwest of Burnsville. That too is something that we're going to be monitoring here. Let me do a storm track on that. That is actually making a beeline towards Iuka at this point. So let's just assume that too is moving off to the east-northeast at about 45 miles per hour like all these other storms. And that would put it in Iuka at 1056. So there's the area of rotation right there, moving off to the northeast, Iuka right here, right along US 72. So that is something we're watching out for here in northern parts of Tishomingo County. Again, Doppler radar indicated rotation. If nothing else, there could be some damaging wind gusts in some of this. But those are two areas that have some better wind velocity couplets that we are looking at the radar right now at this point. Now, there's some other little areas down to the southwest that may be more of just your standard wind at this point, but notice those little blotches like we've been talking about that go all the way down to Calhoun County. There's some gusty wind at the very least on the leading edge of this activity as it continues to move from west to east across our area. And there is a subtle little outflow. There's probably a bit of a shelf cloud. We can't see it at this point. There's probably a little bit of a shelf cloud on the leading edge of this that if we had a bunch of lightning ongoing tonight, we'd really be able to see that with our Tupelo Skycam. But we're going to go back to Tupelo in a few minutes once that rain basically moves on into town. But there's probably a nice little ominous-looking cloud on the leading edge. So if you're out checking this out, you'll probably notice that. The wind will pick up and then the rain will develop. But notice our lightning meter here, cloud-to-ground lightning strikes here, basically nil.
And I want to point out the 2 tornado warnings that were set to expire at 10:45 have in fact expired. Currently, only the 1 tornado warning from Boonville to Rienzi, Burnville, Iuka. That is the only tornado warning currently in effect. So this one goes until 11:15, and that's for this rotation area, basically just to the southeast of Boonville. But again, we are looking at several areas of rotation contained within this tornado warning. So this is issued by the National Weather Service in Memphis. They have canceled the first 2 tornado warnings that were issued that included most of Jumpertown. There is still just a little bit of that that is included in this warning, but pretty much from this point, Jumpertown, you are in the clear. But areas, Hills, Chapel, Altitude, Holcut, Levy, Bacon Springs, those are the areas, Iuka, that we are next concerned about with this tornado warning. Several areas of rotation contained in this.
And I want to go back to our other storm that I was just talking about up there in Tishomingo County here. We haven't seen a lot of our skits pop on some of the stuff tonight, and those are those little lines right here. Those only pop up on the strongest storms, so we haven't had the big, tall, monstrous type thunderstorms tonight. We're finally getting a skid on this, and we're getting this BTI value of 2.2. That's that Barron Tornado Index that's 0 to 10, and basically we're in the low end of the spectrum here, so we would expect low tornado potential with these particular storms. We're getting some rotation, but the higher up on that number tree, 4, 5, 6, we would expect a greater volume of some tornado development. Amanda, what do you got?
So they have canceled some tornado warnings, so I do believe we are in the clear, but on National Weather Service chat, it is in fact showing a tornado warning. I'm a little bit confused, but it shows from New Albany towards Boonville, but I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. I'm not.
It looks
seeing
like, let's see here.
it looks like
the one I
everything
was
has
just
been
talking about has
canceled.
dropped off the map. So
I think we might be in the clear at this point.
at this point, we may have dropped all the warnings here.
I have
so,
seen Memphis canceled and
okay.
expired several tornado warnings.
Okay, so at this point, we officially have no tornado warnings in our coverage area. We will stay on the air here just for a few more minutes here, just to monitor
I have
the
asked
situation.
them for confirmation if there are in fact any active tornado warnings.
We are trying to see if they will extend or reissue anything in the near term. If they don't,
We are in the clear.
Okay.
All of those tornado warnings have in fact been canceled.
okay. So rotation has weakened below severe thunderstorm or tornado warning criteria. So what we're going to do here at WCBI is send you guys back to regular programming on the TV side. We will stay with the Facebook live stream here behind the scenes and just monitor things behind the scenes here as we go throughout the course of the evening and soon to be overnight hours. But just want to reiterate the fact that the overall tornado threat here as we go throughout the course of the night is low, not zero, but low. Heavy rain, some gusty wind, probably the main threats overall here. We have no warnings, we have no watches in play in our coverage area right now. And at this point, we will just be watching this big shield of rain continue to move off from west to east and eventually get down into the Golden Triangle area sometime after midnight. So right now it's 10:49. We're going to go back to regular programming, and we'll be back here if needed as we go throughout the evening. Have a good night.